Hey there, everybody. We are here live with an amazing special guest. I can't believe that I get the pleasure of being able to welcome Matt Vancil to Unlockable Content. If you don't know who he is, you really should. Really should. Uh, I accomplished author, filmmaker. I, Matt, I can't do it justice. Let's hear from you. Please tell us about
Oh,
yourself.
okay, sure. Yeah. As Lou said, I'm a writer and filmmaker. Probably my best known work is the films The Gamers, which includes the original Gamers, The Gamers Darkness Rising, The Gamers Hands of Fate, and the upcoming The Gamers Darkness Falls, which we just shot last April and is in post-production right now.
I had
Uh,
the pleasure of backing that backing the movie also when I saw the Kickstarter launched. So yeah, I'm so excited for the movie.
oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. So starting early, go from the beginning here.
Mhm.
You obviously you have a background with gaming. You grew up with D&D, I'm sure, and other. So that's where the passion must have started for this. This being your subject matter.
Mhm.
So let's, find just let walk us through young Matt finding his way to gaming.
Sure. Well, actually, I didn't start with gaming. I started with books and literature. And when I was a kid, I read a lot of watered down. I didn't realize they were watered down, like Greek myths and such. Um, acceptable for elementary schooler versions of the myths. Like the Disney Hercules, where Zeus is a good dad, kind of. You know, liberties with the actual source material. And I don't know, there was something in those that really stuck with me. And so that's what I gravitated towards when I was young. And around that time, I was also into the Choose Your Own Adventure books at the time. And then there was a crossover that Rose Estes did with TSR, the Endless Quest books, which were like Choose Your Own Adventure books, but you could actually die in them. There was no character sheet or anything. It was still just entirely second person reading. And I loved those. I collected those for a long time. And then I made the next step towards gaming was Lone Wolf, if you remember those game books from the
No, I'm
1980s.
actually not familiar with those.
Oh, well, I loved these. This is what really sort of got me into it was Joe Deaver was a British writer, and his illustrator was Gary Chalk, who's done so much of the Games Workshop stuff, right? And it's
Mm.
basically based on a campaign he was running where it was like a choose your own adventure, but with a character sheet at the front. And you got to play this last of imagine sort of a Jedi, but in a fantasy world monk ranger hybrid. And at the beginning of the game, you had 10 skills you could choose from, but you could only choose five of them,
Mm.
right? And there was a little mechanism for, here's your life points, and here's your combat skill. And so any enemy you ran into, you'd find the differential between your combat skills. You turn to the table at the back of the book, you'd roll the die or randomly pick and fight that way. But then there were certain things that if you had this skill, you could have this option when you came up into danger. With this skill, you might pre-sense that something was about to happen to you. With this skill, you don't have to worry about feeding yourself because you can hunt in the woods with this, and so on. So it was a different play every time through. And I sort of got in my head the idea of, a customizable character. I really like that. And I was reading, of course, at this time, I read tons of stuff, the Chronicles of Narnia, the Chronicles of Prydain, The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, anything I could really get my hands on. Dragonlance was big in those days. And the shocker to me came when, for Christmas, I think I was 11 or 12, my grandparents, my very conservative grandparents, got me a copy of the Player's Handbook for Christmas. And I'm staring at this thing like, I mean, I've heard of D&D, of course, but I thought this was one of those bad hobbies, right?
Right.
I don't know how my God bless them, my grandparents decided to get that to me. My guess would be that they went into a Walden books and they described the sort of things that I had been enjoying, and they said, "Oh, you should do this." And I read that thing cover to cover, cover to cover,
Mm.
like as a source of ideas as well as to play. And I didn't, I've read far more game books than I've ever really had a chance to play. So that's how I sort of long winding pathed my way into the hobby, definitely from the literature side. of it. And suddenly it's like, oh wow, I can see how all these stories I love to read and write and shape uh, could become like game content. Or you could make them interactive adventures with my friends. How cool is that? So that's how I found my way.
And like I liken tabletop gamers to fishermen, that we've all got that story that we love to
Mhm.
retell and embellish on.
That is so true. Hey, you remember the time that those halfling pirates made him walk
Shut
the
up.
plank? Or the time that those gnome shopkeepers ambushed us and
Shut
shoved
up.
him? Or that asthmatic 6-year-old princess with...
Shut up.
So when it came time to make the gamers, what were like the real world experiences you had that you wrote into the movie? Because there I
Oh,
have to
sure.
believe that there has to be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The bickering, certainly the casual acceptance of death of a comrade who you've apparently been adventuring with for years and has been there through all of your life's most momentous events, and then suddenly dead, and you're like, oh, too bad. I get their stuff. Let's go.
Alas, poor Ambrose, we hardly knew thee. Gives on the knife, I get the bag. The staff is mine.
One thing that always struck me was how often we ended up laughing and or laughed ourselves to tears over a ridiculous moment or and it struck me as there's got to be a way to show how these ridiculous moments are, right? Just the juxtaposition from what we say we're doing in this heroic world to a bunch of us sitting around a table not really considering the implications of what we're doing, and just to show it back and forth I think could be very funny, and it turned out to be.
Every table has, the rules lawyer, the bad luck dice, the
Yep.
so
Mhm.
I'm guessing with your your table in college, your friends, you had to have had a real life Mark analog who was not always there.
Yeah, that
And
was one was why did we how do I because I often GM. I preferred to be the GM.
oh,
So I have these critically important narrative beats, and one of the core cast members is missing.
Rogar the Barbarian, warrior prince of the Ice Walker tribe. New Moon, elven archer and ambassador to the realms of man. Nimble, master agent of the Thieves' Guild, only recently paroled by royal decree. And Ambrose, journeyman mage of the West Haven Wizards School.
Dude, don't forget Mark.
What? Oh, right. Mark the Red, last of the Bloodfire Berserkers.
A lot of the characters are not, it's not a one-to-one, oh, that's my friend Bill, or that's my friend Steve. It's more like it's an amalgamation of people's worst characteristics when they rule lawyer or
mhm.
when they chaos gamer
Okay.
together.
We yeah, story sharing, relatable. When I was in college, uh we had a game that we were playing, and someone's schedule changed, and they had a different class at the same time that we were meeting
Mm.
the game. uh so we didn't want to write him out of the game. But he only had like two breaks during class that he could run back to the table. So we wrote it into the story that his character was cursed with narcolepsy, and we had to drag him along through the whole game. But the moment that he could show up to play, it was instantly his turn because he woke up and he just got
That's
to do.
funny.
Oh,
I like that.
it was
That's
great.
great.
But I can remember when so personal, I found Darkness Rising before I found Gamers. But
Mm.
going back and watching Gamers and seeing the Mark character just getting dragged along and not really there, it was so I instantly connected with your storytelling that way.
Cool.
So
Thank you.
it was really fun, and I knew that you really got it. I'm one of those people that watch behind the scenes things when
Mhm.
and I got a DVD copy of Darkness Rising, and I just remember character interviews saying that these are gamers that are making movies for gamers. Like,
Mhm.
it's people that really understand this world, and that it shows so much. Um, so starting with the gamers, and then you know obviously you had all these stories, and you were developing this world. I mean, and you went on to Journey Quest, and then the other movies. Like, what was how early on did you have this thought process to create this interconnected first to create the world and then have it interconnected the way you do?
Hmm.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, Journey Quest and the world that Lodge creates his game, that's all the same universe, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's a world
Yeah.
is called Farther All,
Mhm.
and sort of the idea came from so in college before we made the Gamers was actually that was actually the third film we made. We made a couple of horror comedies called Demon Hunters and then Demon Hunters 2: Dead Camper Lake, which combined our love of like 80s slasher films and the Evil Dead series, which
That's beautiful.
I think there was a week where I watched Army of Darkness. It had just come out on DVD, and I watched it like every night for a week, solid. And the thing is, that was the first movie was a just we don't really know what we're doing. There's one film major on campus, and we don't have a film program at this school. At least it didn't yet. And so we did it in hodgepodge. There are questions like, why isn't Silent Jim in this scene? Oh, because Don had class. You know, but we made it, and it was a little hit on campus, and so we made a sequel, and then wound up after we'd made the sequel, then developing the world and doing all the building. I was like, well, that was fun. I really wish we could go back and make some more of these, but we can't really. And we had just moved on to the gamers at that point. And so I had the thought of like, I don't want what happened to Demon Hunters to happen here. I want to be able to tie this stuff together. So tried to use like the original gamers was there wasn't much thought in world building behind it, right? I wasn't starting top down. I was starting sort of at the tactical level with the characters. Like, what is funny? I'm going to tell a bunch of gaming jokes that I think are funny, and then I'm going to kill everyone at the end because I don't know how to end the movie,
Mm.
right? And so we did that, and it didn't need to be any more than that. But for Darkness Rising, it's like, okay, we got to put more of a story here. Who are the characters actually? Who are the players, right? But I also don't want to just. I can't expect anyone to have seen the original gamers, but I don't want to kick that one to the curb. So I'll tie in some stuff, which if I'm doing that here means it has to be like this and then laid the world out. And then when we were doing Journey Quest, I'm like, well, it would be fun to tie this in and have the same world going on. So here's what I'll do. I'll set Journey Quest 1,000 years in the past from the fantasy world here, but we can still allude to some crossover stuff, and that's fun. And then we really got to see the crossover with Gamers 3 when a character that was in both Journey Quest and the Gamers series appeared in both. And so from that point on, it was always like, well, why not do it? It's fun. People like it. Leaves neat Easter eggs and a breadcrumbs trail for anyone who wants to try to mix their metaphors and put the pieces together.
Yeah. When I realized that it was this vast world, it really it helps to pull people in when they can find these little crossover pieces. And there are people that probably didn't even realize that they have so much deep lore that they can explore between these two franchises, because there's 4 parts to Journey Quest, and now we've got a fourth.
Your fourth season, yeah,
Yeah,
fourth
four
Journey Quest
seasons.
and fourth Gamers. Well, and they were also they came out in different mediums. Like Darkness Rising was a traditional feature film. Like we raised it. The goal was to try to sell it and arrange for distribution rights as a feature film. Maybe it plays in theaters someday. I don't know. This is before streaming was a thing,
Mm.
and it wound up on Netflix. But Journey Quest was a web series.
That's how I
We made
found it.
that. Yeah. Hmm?
That's how I found it on
Oh
Netflix.
wow, great. Yeah, we were. This was back in the early days of Netflix's streaming when they were basically uh, grabbing any independent stuff that they could to round out their catalog, which they don't really do anymore because they produce their own stuff now. But at the time, it was great, and it got hundreds of thousands of eyeballs on the thing, and you know why I'm still doing this, really.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful that we that it was able to continue the way that it did. And then you've got I found there was 2 versions for Hands of Fate. You have, or at least that's what I found online. There was
Mhm.
the movie version, which was the complete thing, and then you had like this extended cut episode breakdown version
Yes,
that you
yes,
did.
extended
And
cut.
yeah, and working at Gen Con also. And I'm now getting ahead of myself on my thought process, because going back to Darkness Rising. So with developing from gamers and then continue making Darkness Rising as a maybe not necessarily the direct sequel, but
Mm-hmm.
a continuation. So you
Mm-hmm.
had get having the cast members that you did. So you had Nathan Rice
Mm-hmm.
and I'm forgetting Mark's actor's name.
Chris Dupenthaler.
Mark, why don't you join? I mean, you used to game all the time in college.
I haven't gamed since the incident.
This is years later. So I mean, what was going on with everybody that you were able to ensure these characters?
Oh
Was it
well.
Dead Gentleman Productions already? Was it
So yeah, Dead Gentleman was the entity we formed right out of college, and that took us through, I think, about 2006 or so, and then Zoe was founded, and to pick up basically where DG had stopped producing. That kept making the gamers movies and Journey Quest and other related material, and then games and stuff based on those projects as well. Um, but I mean, we've stayed in touch with folks this whole time, and most of those folks, at least from the original, I mean, they were part of my friends group and gaming table, and so they just, hey, you want to be in this thing I'm making? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then they're still part of it because, well, your legacy now. So get on in there, deliver the lines.
so with gamers it was it was D&D, but it was non-specific
That's right.
tabletop game.
Yeah, I mean,
But then I'm sorry.
I was going to say, it's like with the gamers, we never had any idea it would catch on or anyone would see it outside of us.
Right.
Like I thought it would be fun to take down every year and show with my friends. Like here's a thing we did, like a community play or something. We didn't have a budget. Like I paid out of pocket for it. It was a few $100, and we're like, well, we don't have the rights to use Dungeons and Dragons. Let's just take our game books and wrap them in paper so you can't see what they are.
Right.
Actually, I had one of that original PHB from my grandparents gave me in there for that. But then for the sequel, which came about because we went to Gen Con with copies of the original on DVD, and we had, this is about 2002, I think 2003, just this arc of people around the booth laughing, and we sold hundreds of DVDs there. We made a profit going to Gen Con, which other vendors were like, you never make a profit coming to Gen Con. How did you do that? What is this thing? And we met some folks. We met some actual, Hollywood producers there who said, we love this. We can't do anything with it though, because it's too short and your technical quality is too poor. But if you make a feature version of this, then we could do something with that. And so that's what we did.
But what I was getting at is, and this is where I'd say, correct me if I'm wrong, you had actual help from Wizards of the Coast directly for.
We did. So what was nuts about that was in the summer of 2000, I actually had an internship at Wizards of the Coast. I was an editor, like a copy editor. I worked in the little print department for a summer. And while I was there, I screened one of the movies and I met Jen Page, who was an artist there at the time. And she liked the stuff and she came out and she participated in the gamers with us. And then when we did the casting, she did this fantastic audition as Luster, paired her with Christian Doyle as the two sides when Luster keeps forgetting that when the player keeps forgetting he's playing a woman and then has to, update that in real time.
Dude, you're a chick.
Oh, right.
How embarrassing.
But Jen still worked at Wizards, and we were looking for a place to film, like head fake what is going on right now with the pirates and ninjas at an office building. And I think Jen suggested Wizards and asked him, and they said yes. And furthermore, could we use D&D? Could we make 3.5 the actual game they're playing? And they said yes. And so that was cool.
I can remember the first time that I sat through it, and I'm like, okay, I'm thinking you found non-specific office building, and then I actually caught that, and maybe you noticed this, maybe you remember or not. On the wall, there's this huge framed image, just rows of magic cards.
Yep.
And I that caught my eye. I was like, where the hell are they? And then I found out that it was Wizards. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, we filmed in at the time, it was this series of 4 interconnected buildings and one of them was currently uninhabited, but still had the desks and everything. So they let us into there, and that's where we did the Pirates versus Ninjas pizza delivery game scene.
So I'll show my ignorance. Is that an actual game, or has
We
it been
we we
developed?
thought about it, but
I would own that.
we called it Pizza Jitsu.
Yeah.
And then someone pointed out and was like, "Isn't that just Burger Ninja?" And I was like, "Isn't? Oh shoot, no, yeah,
Oh,
I guess we shouldn't do it."
okay.
Yeah,
But pirates.
Everything's better with pirates.
So,
Mhm.
and then your history with Gen Con, and then obviously the popularity of the movies. I'm
Yeah.
sure
So
that getting
it
into
went
Gen Con for part three was
it was nuts. Like that the movie came out and we moved. I think we sold something like 800 copies at Gen Con when it came out, and it was screening at part of the film festival. It had signings at the Paizo booth because Paizo is our distributor in the game industry for those. And we got to talking, and for the next one, it was like, what do we want to do for Gamers 3? And what I didn't want to do was to do another. What I didn't want to do was get caught in a rut of we're always doing the same thing each time,
Mhm.
right? 'Cause you don't grow as an artist that way, right? I wanted each one of these to be a step up and an increase in stakes and scope from the previous one. And so Darkness Rising from the original makes perfect sense. It's like we didn't know who the players were. They didn't, it was all about the fantasy world characters. The players were straw men, sort of, you know, didn't have weren't there. They were vehicles to let the characters tell their jokes, right? So Darkness Rising, it's like, let's tell an emotional story, let's tell a full complete story, let's keep all that. And then I was like, okay, what do we do for the next one? I don't want to do RPGs again. I was really into the collectible card games that started in the boom after Magic created the industry, right? And my favorite of those was Legend of the Five Rings, which was the samurai, a fantasy samurai or role game and role playing game and miniatures game that is still beloved, but I don't think I'm not sure who has owns the franchise anymore. But it was created by AEG, and they had this wonderful storyline mechanic where, unlike in Magic, you have your five colors. You can put whatever colors you want into a deck, right?
Get
Yes, you get it, right?
yeah.
L5R was different because you began with a stronghold, and that was a stronghold for one of the clans of Rokugan, right? And it didn't mean you couldn't play samurai from other clans, but it was a very declarative statement. It's like, I am a Crab Clan player. I am a Crane Clan player. I play for the Shadowlands. I'm here to destroy the Empire, right?
Whatever. I'll take the Grand Mighty Empire of Green One.
And they would have these storyline tournaments where whoever won the tournament, their clan would triumph in the story. And so there were all these storyline prizes that AEG ran through this global tournament network where the story evolved like a comic book, right? The children, the descendants of the starting characters took over. There were betrayals and triumphs and conquests and falls and redemptions and experienced versions of players. And it's like, we don't know who's going to be the next emperor. Oh, it was a lion clan. Okay, great. Here we go. And so there was this real sense of we're actually affecting the storyline. And I loved that mechanic. And I thought, I wonder if we could do something like that in the next Gamers film. And I had the weirdest thing was like when we first were doing the Gen Con circuit, we would get into the hall like at the same time the other exhibitors were. And so suddenly I'm rubbing elbows with people I've only read about. Monty Cook, Margaret Weiss, Tracy Hickman. I grew up reading these folks. But they see us with a booth there and they're like, my equal, my compatriot here in the vendor booth. I'm like, what? No, I'm a dork. I'm a nobody. What do you want? It's like, there's some like I remember sitting at that first Gen Con kind of just taking a break because I was so overwhelmed with all the feedback. And this guy comes up, really smiles, and said, "Hi, I'd like to buy a copy of your movie for Margaret Weiss." And I look up, and the lanyard says Tracy Hickman. I'm like, "Look!" And so it's like we became maybe not necessarily friends, but acquaintances, friends with this vast network. And one of those guys was John Zinzer, who is the owner of AEG. And one time I went over to there, and he's like, "Oh, how you doing? I heard you like L5R." I said, "Yeah, what player? Crab Clan." He's like, "Here's a box of boosters." I'm like, "Oh, what? Thank you." And so had the idea of maybe we could try to capture that. There's an escalation for you instead of doing another local, you know, campaign around a table. What if they go to Gen Con? What if they're playing in one of these giant storyline tournaments with another game? That would be an escalation. That would be something bigger and bolder. Oh, and we're friends with the folks at Gen Con now. So I dropped an email to Zinzer saying, hey, we're thinking of doing this. And if we did that, could we use AEG's iconography, you know? Because one thing that always annoys me about when you do a fictitious version of something, it's like, in order to avoid copyright or offending anyone, we'll create a thing that doesn't exist in place of the thing you're trying to be, right?
I see no lightsaber. That would be a copyright infringement. I see a psionic spirit blade.
And so Zinzer's like, yeah, you can use our stuff. In fact, do you want our help? And we're like, yes, that'd be amazing. And so AEG actually produced a limited run of the fake game that our movie was set in, of a Romance of the Nine Empires,
Yeah.
right? And so that was cool. And then we filmed at Gen Con on the main stage for the big climactic tournament scene there.
Today we shall cry havoc! Cry havoc! And
For that whole climactic scene, you know, we only had the stage for an hour. We did a Gamers Live show to bring the audience in. That was the first Gamers Live show. And then we filmed up there. And I've never directed that many people. I directed 600 extras. And the badges even said, like, the badge was the contract. So by buying this badge, you accept that you might be caught in the background or you might be in this movie. If you're not okay with that, you need to, you know, follow here. So the badge, so we were legally in, you know, clear, because you got to get image release forms from everyone to make
That's
these.
brilliant. That's
Well, we worked with the folks at Gen Con. They said, here's this great idea. I was like, wow, brilliant. So we're filming there. People want to be in the movie. It's not a hard sell. You want to be in the movie, you get to react, watch these folks. But we couldn't film the whole scene there because we only had an hour. So what we did was we filmed all the crowd shots. Then we rebuilt that stage on our sound stage 3 months later in near Seattle, and got all of our tight shots there. So when you watch that, if you watch that scene again, there's you know, anytime we cut from the intimate, like you and me talking here too, there's the crowd. Those are filmed 3 months apart, 3 time zones apart.
That's going to change how I watch it the next time I sit through it. I'll tell you, now that I'm acutely aware of that. It's because it really is. It's so tight, and like you manage to create this genuine. I mean, I'm a card player. I'm that kind of nerd. So I feel the intensity. I feel the drama in the moment that you actually generate in the movie. But that's crazy to think that, you know, it was arranged that way.
Best game I've had in years.
Without getting into spoilers for going into Darkness Falls, so I'll phrase my question this way: did you intend to do that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I've been wondering that myself.
So the same situation for Gamers 4 was, because we knew we'd be doing it eventually, and people have been asking about it for years, and the idea was, how do we do another escalation, right? We just went to the biggest gaming convention in the US, if not the world. Lodge and Joanna are getting married. If you watch the extended cut, you see in a year from now that we're about to have a baby. And it's like, so we've done CCGs and we've done RPGs.
And
what
also
do we do
we
now?
brought back the you know, get ready to say it with me 6 times in The Shadow.
Yes.
The shadow? The shadow? The shadow.
The shadow.
the shadow.
The shadow?
The shadow?
It's like, well, we got to wrap up with the shadow. So how do we do that? And at the end, again, it's a bit of a spoiler if you haven't seen it, but at the end of the extended cut, well, no, even the regular cut, the shadow whisks them off to the fantasy world itself. And the idea was to always just begin the next movie right from there, our Army of Darkness, right? But you know, we finished Hands of Fate, which was Gamers 3 in 2013, and so it's been over a decade, and our characters our actors are, and the crew and cast, we're all getting older now. Like I'm 48 now, right? We filmed Darkness Rising 20 years ago. Just feel the liver spots popping up, right? And so it's like, okay, so how do we tell another escalation story that we haven't told before, that is true to gaming and the experience, but that also is not us trying to pretend that we're 10, 15 years younger than we are, because we're not. It was like, oh, okay, there are themes here we can explore. Let's make it a real life and death stakes adventure, right? They got pulled into the fantasy world. They're gamers with game knowledge in a game world where they have to do it for real to find their way back. Is the idea. So it's like a LARP with potentially deadly consequences if you get it wrong.
Yeah. So, God, I went in, and I don't want to say whether or not these things did or didn't happen. I don't want to ruin the movie, but I went in with these expectations, and I was wondering, like, okay, the Shadow brought, our real life people into the fantasy world. Yeah, I wonder if are we going to get like a what was that side humans and households?
Oh,
Like, are we going to get like the humans, and are we going to get
mm,
Flynn and Luster, and are we going to get them in the real world too? Are we? I was so I was so curious, and I was so excited to see which way the story was going to go
mm,
and what elements we were going to get. And watching the rough cut, I was just so there were parts where I know I'm watching an unfinished thing, but some of the unfinished cuts were actually so funny on their own, just because I know how that this bit is missing.
oh, thank you.
uh and I love the way that the story went, and there's elements, again, not spoiled, but you even go all the way back to gamers.
Hmm.
So are we have we wrapped up this world with Dorcas
I will
Falls, or
I will say that we have wrapped up these characters,
Hmm.
the characters who began in Darkness Rising. This is the completion of that arc, right? I would think of it. It's not like I don't want to say that there won't be any more gamers projects, because when the muse whispers, you listen and you write down what she says. Um, I would think of it more like this is the end of of an era, maybe of Star Trek. Like if we do it again, it's like, okay, how do we do it new? How do we make it relevant now to a younger audience? Who's playing now? Because the hobby and the industry is in such a different place than it was when we were growing up, right? When it was a thing that was secretive and kind of a guilty pleasure, and now it's like incredibly popular. There's
to long for the Satanic Panic days.
right. It's not only is it super popular, but like you've got live streams are huge. You've got two animated shows on Prime based on live streams, and the most popular show in the world that just wrapped, Stranger Things. Not only was D&D references like integral to the storytelling, they did that. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but the end credits of the final episode is heavily D&D themed. Like it's like, wow, where did this come from? What great. The industry's having a heyday. So if we do it again, and why wouldn't we? If we can tell the right story, what does it look like now?
Yeah.
But my plan is this is the end of the story for these characters.
What beyond, obviously you're still wrapping up Darkness Falls, but what else could you tell us is on your table? What are you working on
Oh,
otherwise?
well, I'm working on another show that would be a similar to Journey Quest in its theme, though it wouldn't be a web series. I'm aiming for a traditional show. Basic premise, I'll call that. It's another fantasy comedy. It's heavily influenced by gaming and basically gaming world building, but also fairy tales and fantasy. And the basic premise is imagine a sitcom set in a dungeon, starring the dungeon's most disposable employees.
No, that sounds awesome.
It's fun. I've been working on that one since the pandemic. I was shut in all the time. Let's write about dungeons.
So,
Maybe
just
it
still
relates.
scripting phases for that.
Still scripting phases. Have a pilot. I'm working on the next episode now. I've already got one major investor interested. So we'll see what happens. Got some meetings upcoming on that. So
That's
fingers
great. We'll
crossed
definitely
for
be
me.
looking out for that. And then just Matt, what, you still have a table going? You gaming right now, or?
So I have not gamed regularly in 10 years. It's just don't have the space for it or the surface area in my life right now. But that may change because my kids are interested.
Hmm.
But I got a wide range of kids here, and so what I think I might do is do like a Redwall style or Secret of Nim style campaign, where we use the fantasy classes from D&D or Pathfinder, and but with anthropomorphic rats and mice, not rice. Uh,
No, you're going to bring Nathan into
Squirrels,
it.
badgers.
Nathan
Yeah,
Rice
why
is gonna.
not? They're hungry. They need to learn about nutrition. We're gonna do a Veggie Tales campaign, is what I'm saying. No.
Lose 50 experience.
Well, I mean, with that being said, I mean, and you talked about, the popularity of things like Critical Role. I mean,
Mhm.
could you, and the popularity of Gamers Live at Gen Con, could you see you and the zombie Zoe team, doing something together online, making a series that way, or?
Actually, no, he did. I did this about, I forget when it was. I think it was about 7 years ago. Zoe has been does a lot of live stream games, and they did this series that ran for several years called Masters of the Metaverse.
Oh,
And they asked me, and I got to be in
I
on that
missed
as a
that.
player for a while. Oh, it's fun. Yeah, it's on Twitch. And but we did a 4 episode arc set in Fartherall that I GM'd that wound up being a 6 episode show. Uh, Similar, not more like a journey quest than a gamer's because of just of the nature of how it was played. But that one was very funny and worth a look. So yeah, there's precedent. We've done stuff like that before. I can see us doing it again.
Yeah, that would be. I know I'd be tuning in for sure this time. Uh, so yeah, you've got the Kickstarter going. If people wanted to find more, if get the movies themselves, yeah, you can find these things on YouTube. But we want to support, Dead
Sure.
Gentleman and Zoe. So where would we go to find copies of these things? Where would we go to find your written work? Where would
Sure.
we?
Zombieorpheus.com. I really do need a website, but if you look me up, Matt Vancil on Amazon, you can find some of the books there.
To have you I'm uh, plugging here, for yourself. Have you, or have you considered, pulling a lodge here and making farther all, guidebooks for tables, or?
Well, actually, we did in so there was, oh, what was it? Was it I forget what the campaign was, but there was a Kickstarter several years back. It might have been tied to the Orcish Beefcake calendar. I think it might have been that was that, and that I would write a Farther Roll World Guide, which I did, and it's got all nine ages of the world's history, plus systems on how magic and such works, so that if you wanted to turn it into a campaign, you could.
That's awesome. So there, what, I could listen to you talk about the work that you've done for, for hours here. I could go, I'm fascinated that way. When I stumbled across Darkness Rising in college, and then I found the gamers and worked my way through, and I saw this, this independent creation that you have. I went to film school, and it really helped me, me feel inspired that I could do, these things, that I could be a filmmaker. And here I am with a YouTube channel. And you said, you're rubbing elbows with people at Gen Con, and yeah, so when you were saying, you're geeking out talking to people, I get it. It's um so for working on our wrap up. So I'm curious, with your free time, what are you doing for yourself? You're not gaming, but what,
Hmm.
what are you doing to spend your time? What kind of, like, on YouTube, what are you watching, and why is it unlockable content? No.
Actually, I don't watch much YouTube. If I watch YouTube, there's a woman I've been watching named Sarah C.M. Payne, who is a military strategist, talking about the state of world affairs and power dynamics. That's I do puzzles. I build Legos when I can afford them. The expert style thing. I love those. Always have. Just I'm in. I got 5 kids between the ages of 6 and 13. So there's not much time that isn't structured
Mhm.
right now, and so not much time to do anything that's like a big, deep, immersive, multi-hour thing. So I try to do it in bits and pieces when I can.
Mhm. And so I asked, what's on the agenda with future projects, but it's with the new movie, be set
Mhm.
slated to come out soon. Are you planning yourself for conventions, for screenings and things like where,
We've
could people start to like kind of schedule themselves around knowing where we could find
Sure.
you and
We
other things?
we've submitted to Gen Con. The early bird film festival submission deadline just passed at the end of January. We kind of snuck in right after that. So we're hopeful that they'll approve us. And if they do, if we know, then we'll be blaring that everywhere. We'll post that on the Kickstarter updates that because that's where we'd love to have the premiere.
Is it really an if? Is it really? No,
I don't
I'm
want to
just
take any. I don't want to be presumptuous and take
no,
anything for
never, of
granted, but
course.
I'd be surprised. I'd think, what did we do wrong?
Yeah.
I'd be surprised, but I'm not going to be presumptuous.
And that's really what I should be doing.
So would that be for this? It wouldn't be for this Gen Con. It would be for
That's
next
the
year.
aim.
No, this year,
2026. Yeah.
2026. Well, all right, I got to start trying to plan some savings. Then I hope get to that permit. I've never had the fortune for all of my love of tabletop gaming and conventions. I haven't gotten that far out west yet, and I have yet to do a Gen Con. So that's I've always wanted to. It's on my convention bucket list.
It's
But
not to be missed.
I mean, it's hard for me to like wrap my mind around. We were fortunate enough to do PAX East one year, and
Mm-hmm.
that was huge. And we've done Philly Fan Expo with again, these and later unlockable content plug here. We're going to be at Awesome Con in March.
Nice.
And amazingly they have most of the cast of Firefly there, so that goes with
Wow.
yeah, they're going, and that goes back to Hands of Fate. You were I imagine now I'm backtracking in conversation here. I'm guessing you were working through some things with all the Ninja
Well,
Dragon Riders, Firefly.
yeah, I was just trying to look up again, try to find something that seems authentic that we've all been through and mourning a lost favorite show to maybe obsessive lengths is something that seemed to resonate.
Yeah.
Number one king team, hooray! Ninja Dragon Riders, secret rock star USA. You can't take the sky from me.
So anything else, any more information that we can know to look for? Anything more we could do with the Kickstarter? I know they were talking about auctions with the Kickstarter. Is there more
Right.
that people can do?
Well, we just wrapped this auction. It was available open only to Kickstarter backers of like props and costumes and stuff from the movie because we had that's a topic for an entire other show or an entire track and bottle of bourbon on the DVD of everything that went wrong during the shoot.
Oh no.
But long story short, we wound up about 20% over budget, which even at these numbers is huge. And so we had to exhaust or cannibalize most of what we put aside for rewards creation to just complete the filming. Because incomplete movie, we can't do anything with that. Complete movie, I can sell that, make some of the money back, finish the rewards. But to do that, I had to get some more into the tank, and I didn't want to run another Kickstarter. I didn't want to do a Kickstarter just for finishing funds or anything. So I was like, oh, I gotta find a home for this stuff anyway. What if we auction it off and raised a decent amount? So we're gonna be able to finish post with that.
So there's no there's nothing more that us, on the outside can do. People that are just discovering you and this world of gamers, obviously supporting and going
Sure.
to Zombie Orphis, but
Maybe I have some other. We have some other options. I don't want to. I don't want to immediately follow a fundraising campaign with another fundraising campaign. I want to see how we're doing. I don't want to go to the well too often. Again, never want to take it for granted. But was thinking of some of the things we could raise funds via, and have a few kicking around. And if it comes to that, I'll let you know.
well, I can link the Kickstarter in the description of this, as well as Zombie Orphis, and make sure that all of you watching, if this is your first time discovering things like Journey Quest and the Gamers franchise, please go through, check them out. You can find them online, and you can then get yourself a copy of them, because it is worth it. I brag about my special edition copy of Darkness Rising. There are so many fun little features on the DVD that you'll spend plenty of time watching. We talked earlier. There's and you told me you weren't even aware of the lolcat subtitle option.
I have to give that a look.
Yeah, but then there was also the D20 subtitles, which is literally the subtitles only pop up while they're in game, and it's the roles for all of their action.
That was inspired.
Yeah, that was hilarious. God, the first time I saw it, when at the beginning, when they go bursting through a wall, and I'm God, I'm so bad with names.
Scott C. Brown.
Yeah. When they sidestep to let let him through, and it just says assist +2 at the bottom. And I was on the floor right there already. That was so great. I want to see just the example of how what you do inspires. If I can I go to screen share really quick? Show this.
Budweiser. The less you want it, the better it tastes.
I made that. I had a feeling that would be appreciated. I couldn't resist after I saw them. That was Nathan's own ad lib.
He ad libbed that. That's one of the nice. That's actually one of the great benefits of letting your cast improvise. Is as the writer is, people can say, "I love that line. It was hilarious," and you can reply, "Thank you. I'm very proud of that."
Yeah.
Which I didn't write.
So what can you think of any other good moments that were like favorite happy accidents that worked its way in, or not accidents necessarily, but things that were unexpected that worked out?
Let me see.
Your favorite moments that weren't of your own making.
There's a point. I won't spoil it specifically, but there's a sequence in Gamers 4 where there's about 3 scenes in a row. The button on the scene is a line of dialogue that Christian Doyle improvised.
Okay.
There. And so I'll just leave it at that.
All right. So yeah, you've told us, how you got to where we are, everything you're working on, what you've been up to lately, why you're not watching Unlockable content. No. I can't say thank you enough for joining us. I'll be sure to email you the link to this video when I get it uploaded.
Well, thank you so much.
And
appreciate you having me on. Well, when you put it up, let me know, and I'll include it in the next Kickstarter update.
Oh, wow, that would be amazing. And when the Kickstarter does finish and we get everything, one of the benefits that I got from the tier that I submitted to is the Dorknomicon. So I'm going to get a whole bunch of things, and I'll do like an unboxing video when I get all of that stuff.
Oh, nice.
So that'll be that. I'm so looking forward to that. So Matt, again for like the umpteenth time, thank you. It's been so great talking to you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day, and everyone, and you take care.
Take care.
Onward to Waffles! Waffles home! doesn't.